Welcome to One Man's Tracks. We've got another episode here of Goodwill dumping for you. This week it's the early 90s hard rock edition. These are some albums that I picked up recently, tried out a few times, thought, hey, there's some highlights here, but I don't really feel like diving fully into it or really listening to them a whole lot more times. So I want to point out some highlights to you I found on these albums, and then I'm going to give them back to the thrift shop for somebody else to enjoy. Let's start out with an album I'm still not quite convinced I want to give away yet. This is technically the first heavy metal album to reach #1 on the Billboard Top 200, but at this point in time I consider this a hard rock album 30 years down the line. This is Skid Row's Slave to the Grind. And in terms of me not feeling like I want to give it away, because I really do enjoy kind of the opening chunk, the 5-track starting really gets me, grabs me, and it's catchy enough to have a fun time, and then I guess just pop it out and play something else if I kind of lose them in the background. Monkey Business opens it up, kind of got a bit of a Guns N' Roses Paradise City appeal to it. Then you're hit with the title track with this great solid clear message of you can't be king of the world if you're slave to the grind. Ooh, fun track. The Threat follows it up, solid, loud rock experience, continues into Quicksand Jesus, which is a hard rock ballad, and I'm not a big fan of them, but I think Sebastian Bach does a really convincing job throughout this whole project. He doesn't overdo it. He remains a solid base for this band to play around and jam off of, so I may check out some more of their work with him. Besides that, I love the bass line on Psycho Love, and it reminds me of Judas Priest a lot, so we're going to hang on to it just for a minute. Let me know what you think about Skid Row and the rest of their projects, and maybe I'll check some of those out and we'll get a full review later down the line. This is some real dumping now. The band I probably enjoy the most out of the next couple that I'm going to talk about. This is the supergroup Archangels and their self-titled debut from 1992. I love the track Living on a Dream. I think Good Time is such a good time. The writing is solid enough. You got Sweet Nadine and Spanish Moon that are kind of cheap but effective songs. This doesn't do it for me though, because of just kind of how put together it feels. They don't quite mesh as well as they could. Solid blues rock album and well written. I just can't quite get into it. I think the story behind all the members of the band's interesting. The young lead singer, when he was first discovered, I think he was 16 years old, his first hit. The guitarist, left-handed, he played on one of Michelle and Cello's albums. The rhythm section comes from his band, but it didn't come together for me, and so I'll link some of those highlights. I like the closer. I think that's a pretty convincing alt-rock jam, but check them out. Let me know what you think about Archangels, but I'm sure somebody will have a good time with that in their own time. So we're moving on to an album that I feel is probably the definition of overproduced. My, this has a lot of potential, but the Borrowisms are just far too much, and I don't know, the Bon Jovi Aldo Nova collaboration didn't work out. This is Aldo Nova's Blood on the Bricks, I think his 4th album, and it was, I think, 6 years after his previous one, and it kind of is just where he starts falling further and further out of relevancy. This is 1991, this released, and besides Young Love, which has the Valance stamp of approval, it's really just a mess. The most memorable is probably Medicine Man, and it chugs along, it's alright, and then the opener, the title track, I like it, but because it feels just like Led Zeppelin's rock and roll, that's kind of the foundation they use, and that's a little cheap. This thing, really, I can't recommend it, guys. I'm still going to check out Aldo Nova's recent release, 2020. He put out an album that he's been working on since 2008, and I think he says he wrote 100 42 songs for it and then cut it down to 21 to be like a 2-hour rock opera. And that might be fun to check out. I'm going to link it down below, but I haven't even listened to it yet. It's worth a try just because of how much work he allegedly put into it, so I'll give him that, but I can't give it to him on Blood on the Bricks. Last album we're dumping here that was a lot more tolerable, honestly, after listening to Aldo Nova, but it's just kind of a little bit too soft of a hard rock album, and I'd heard about Bad Company. I knew about their reputation as a band, but I just hadn't listened to anything, so I tried out Here Comes Trouble, and I think their 10th album, 1992, was probably a little bit too far down the line for this supergroup to really grab any real special thing. It's solid. Like, the album is crisp, really consistent, but ultimately bland in my mind in terms of anything that'll jump out at me. How about that? Stranger Than Fiction's okay. Here Comes Trouble is probably my favorite song, but it's even hard for me to pick it out. And then some cuts down the end just don't do it for me. I think Broken Hearted might be the one that I really just couldn't care less. Oh no, it was the closer, My Only One. Sorry about any Broken Hearted fans. I don't have anything against that or good thing to say about that. I'm gonna try to find maybe a 70s or an 80s album from the Bad Company lineup. This one, not for me, guys. Actually, why am I putting them down? I gotta finish this video off. I gotta ask you, what do you guys think about any of their other projects? Something I should check out? Am I making a huge mistake dumping these? Let me know down in the comments. Like the video for making it to the end. Here's another Goodwill dumping playlist. Some video that I think you'd enjoy based on some hard rock album I've reviewed. I'm gonna keep rocking out a little bit to Slave to the Grind, and I'll fill you in later on how that turns out. Take care. Thanks again for watching. Subscribe if you're new! Please! Let me know! I love new people!